From high on a hill in Toledo, Oregon, this is Rhonda's Room, and I am the hostess who loves you the mostest, Rhonda J. Every week or thereabouts, we bring you a new show from the world of Q, stationing here in kyaq.org, publicly owned operated radio station. And I'll be sharing stories and educating my radio listeners about stuff they may not know. We focus on LGBTQ topics that provide encouragement, inspiration, education, and information for our rainbow community. And we're going to be talking just like we're talking in a living room over a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or who knows, nice and easy. So today we welcome Michelle Nastasis, someone who describes herself as the first known transgender professional poker player. So how you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing great. Actually enjoying what's going to turn out to be a sizzling hot day here in Chico. We're expecting it to be extremely hot here in our area today. In fact, we have excessive heat warnings. So anybody that's listening down in the upper Sacramento River Valley, please be extremely careful with the heat today.
Well, how hot is it?
Right now, at straight up noon, it's already 99 degrees.
All righty. Well, we'll have a sizzling radio show going on right now. So let's.
I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be fun.
It is. So you gave me some talking points, and I gave you some talking points. I figure we'll start with your talking points, and I'll just list them, and I numbered them myself, so I had the right sequence, but I'm using the same sequence that you gave me, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Sound good to me?
Okay.
Good to you?
Sounds good.
Okay. Tell us about the assault in Fresno in August 2017 and the circumstances leading up to it.
I had just got done playing poker at a local card room there in Fresno, walked outside, and I was attacked by a total of 6 people.
Wow.
The first words out of their mouth was, "Hey, tranny faggot." And my head snapped around, and when I did, I literally snapped my head around into a right hand that knocked me totally unconscious right there in front of the card room. And while I was down, they took my head and slammed it into the concrete.
Did you know?
Naturally suffered a massive concussion and also suffered a internal brain bleed too.
Did you know these people?
No.
Total strangers.
Hang on a second. My Bluetooth died on me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I thought I had charged my Bluetooth last night, and I forgot completely that I hadn't. But we're back in one piece. No, I did not know these people, but fortunately, as everybody on the face of the planet knows, on the exterior of every casino or card room in the world, there are cameras. And 4 of the individuals that were responsible for this started doing their happy dance in full view of the camera. And the turned over to the teacher perpetrator were caught with, I think, like 72 hours. And they were charged with some pretty serious crimes. They were charged with aggravated assault, which in California carries a 15-year sentence. And then they had 2 other sentencing and charge embellishments on it. And what's called a transgender person embellishment, which doubles the original sentence, and then a California hate crime embellishment, which doubles all of it. And these 4 individuals are now serving 60 to life in the California state prisons.
It sounds like California has, or I don't know how long it's had that, but a really strong hate crime law, and that's
Yes, they
great.
do. It very closely mirrors the Matthew Shepard LGBT Protection Act, which is the federal hate crime law. Federal hate crime law.
Do you know who was behind formulating that hate crime law for California? Was there some legislator a while back, or do you know who put that in motion?
Yeah, Matt Shepard's mom and dad.
For California.
Right. And they're very, very active in getting hate crime legislation passed all across the country.
Very interesting to know. Very interesting to know. I've been working really hard with um, Ellen Rosenblum, our Attorney General in Oregon, because she is pushing through and hopefully will be signing very shortly a much improved hate crime law here, because our state law and has been very weak so far. So, all right. And you, how long did it take you to recover, if I may act, from a medical standpoint?
I ended up having to have two surgeries. One to stop the initial brain bleed, and then a second one about 6.5 months ago. So I'm fully recovered now, but it's taken every bit of over almost 2 full years to fully recover.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for pursuing, persisting, and keeping going. And wow, that's all I have to say. So,
Now that's a sad chapter in my life, but I just keep persevering, and I don't let it define me. In fact, I have gotten to a point with regards to handling the hate crimes or the hatred of the transgender community like this. I don't care if you hate me or hate my existence, but when you start to make it personal and you start to attack me physically, that's where I take exception. And in my career as a professional poker player, I have to watch my back at times only because of the nature of when you win a big tournament. Sometimes you're paid in cash.
mm-hmm.
And what happens there is that I have a full-on, very well-trained security team that follows me around the country.
All right.
And also they have set up surveillance on my family so that my family is taken care of.
So it follows you everywhere.
Yes.
That's fantastic. That's great. I'm so interested in your professional career. Where did you start playing poker, or is it?
I actually started as a kid. My dad, who was an old school Marine drill instructor, would sometimes allow me to sit in when Marine instructor buddies would come over on a Friday night, and that's how I learned how to play poker. And it has been a lifelong journey on knowing how to play poker. And about 25, 27 years ago, I started as a serious amateur. And then just a hair over 9+ years ago, I turned professional because I was beating every tournament on the face of the planet, or at least in the Central Valley of California. Every time I would walk in, everybody'd say, "Oh, no, she's here. We're playing for second tonight." And several of the casino operators and poker room managers asked me if I had considered turning pro. And I said, "Not really." And They said, we think you have the talent to do so. They arranged some backing and sponsorship for me, and I was off. I was off to the races.
Do you
And
usually?
I have played in some of the biggest tournaments in the world, the World Series of Poker, the Heartland Poker Tour, the World Series of Poker Circuit Series, Mid-States Poker Tour, the Ante-Up Poker Tour, and my personal favorite is Run It Up Reno, which is held at the Peppermill Resort and Casino in Reno. And that's one of my personal favorites.
When you go and when you're new in a tournament, people, well, let's put it a different way. When you're advertised as being in a tournament, I don't know that much about card tournaments, and but I'm just imagining that there's an announcement. There's going to be a tournament, this and such place, and it's probably showing, the forerunners or front runners rather, or the favorites and all that. And you walk in. Do you get? I hope you don't mind me asking you this. Do you get like double takes? The BS about being a guy in a dress or anything like that, or is this somehow you're already known?
Believe it or not, I used to.
Uh-huh.
I did a radio interview a couple of years ago, and the statement that now comes out is, wait a minute, she really can play. And that changes the whole narrative. It used to be, oh, look, it's a guy in a dress trying to get a discount. Well, now even the serious amateurs and the top pros, they know me. They know that when I show up, I mean business. That, yes, I'm friends with a lot of the top pros in the world, but when we sit down at the table, friendship stops. I'm there to do a job.
I understand that you've got a table persona. What's that?
Okay. Most people, if you hear the barking in the background, I apologize. It's my pup. I have a 6-month-old Saint Bernard. But my persona at the table, I take no prisoners. I give no quarter at the table. My persona, my nickname, is the Ice Princess, and it comes from the way I play. Ice cold, no emotions, and the cold heart of an absolute assassin. If I have you on the run, I will keep you on the run, and I will stay after you and stay after you and stay after you until you make a mistake. And when you do make that mistake, I'm there to capitalize. And I've done this to the top pros. I've done it to local players, and I had somebody time that if you see Michelle smiling at the table, be afraid, very afraid. And the nickname, the Ice Princess, came actually from my wife, Sue, because she saw me playing in a tournament, and I didn't see her. I didn't even know she was there, and she was standing there watching the tournament for over 2 hours. I had zero clue that she was there. And she said, you had such an ice-cold demeanor. And I said, oh, okay. And she goes, you really are an ice princess when you play. And the name stuck.
What a good way to get a nickname.
And several of the top touring pros that know, and we're all friends, but they see that when I go into what some people refer to as the zone, and when I go into that place, I'm ruthless. I will just keep raising you and keep pressuring you and pressuring you and pressuring you. And it just comes from a philosophy that I was taught a long time ago, that poker is war. People mistake it for a game.
Well, Lady Gaga has a song called Poker Face. So,
the song actually isn't about poker.
Yeah, I know.
Even though people do.
I know. But it just came to mind. I could see you walk in and that
Yeah.
song would be on, but probably not. Um, do you have any when you're beginning competition? And I have very little experience watching tournaments, but when you're beginning the competition, uh, are you introduced, say, in a larger competition, like in the casinos and all Reno and all? Um, is each player um, announced with fanfare, or is it? I mean, I could. How does that work?
Not really. When you show up at a tournament, especially a bigger, well attended event, it's a lot of fun when you walk in and you see your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You walk over to 15-time World Series of Poker champion Phil Hellmuth and say, "Hey Phil, how you doing? Hey Michelle, how you doing?" Or you walk over to the tournament series host, and I'll use Run It Up Reno as the example. Jason Somerville. Jason and I are very, very good friends. And I'll walk over to him and I say, "Hey Jason, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey Michelle, it's good to see you." And I've had this happen on numerous occasions where John Doe from Idaho goes, "You really do know them?" And I said, "Yeah, I play with them on tour all the time." "Oh, you're a touring pro?" And that changes the whole dynamic real quick. And that your respect level at the table from what I call the rank and file, the people that really are the heart and soul of tournaments poker, they're the heart and soul of it. And when they say, "Oh, wow, I got the chance to sit down and play against one of the best pros in the world," that means so much to me, to have not the respect of my peers, but to have the respect of the rank and file. That I try to make it fun for them, but also keep in mind that I'm there to do a job. And my job is to make their chips appear in my chip stack.
What a great explanation. I really appreciate that. You really set the picture for me and hopefully for our viewers that don't know a great deal about tournaments, poker, and the like. What a what a good explanation. I appreciate that. There's something about the business of poker. You have a company?
Yes. Uh, at the suggestion of a very well-known poker player a number of years ago, uh, he brought the idea of building a brand around yourself to the forefront. And he said, "You're so unique in the industry that you can make a ton of money on the outside of away from the felt if you market yourself properly." And it's taken a few years to really build up the brand and bring the brand to the forefront. And it's fun now because we have posters, we have logoed hats, hoodies, T-shirts, the whole nine yards. And when I show up at a tournament site, my have my logo on, or people have seen me on various TV episodes of the World Poker Tour, or they've seen me in a Heartland Poker Tour event. It's fun. They say, "Wait a minute, we just saw you on TV. We just saw you on TV. Where can we get a hat? Where can we get your poster? Where can we get this?" And one thing has led to another, and through the absolute hard work of his staff, my agent, Matt Gordon, with Face Marketing, they have really taken my grassroots efforts and pushed them even farther down the road, where the brand name Michelle Nastasis and our logo and our tagline are the kinds of things that that I only dreamt about 6.5, 7 years ago.
And his Matt Gorin's company is Happy Face Marketing.
Yes, Matt is based in L.A. And some of his other clients are former professional basketball players, and I can't mention their names only because of privacy rules. But he has several big-name professional basketball players that he works with on their after-basketball life.
Great. That's great. Great explanation for that, too. You're an activist and advocate. What are your favorite campaigns?
Well, we'll start with the most prominent. I wear 5 wristbands, 1 on my right hand and 4 on my left. We'll start with the biggest one, the one that gets the most notice, and it states the H8. And as most of your listeners know what that stands for, but I'll sound it out for them. It stands for no hate. And I was part of a photo shoot in Fresno about 6 years ago, and I won my no hate band ever since. And people ask me, well, what does it say? What does it say? And I tell them no hate. The others that I wear on my left hand, and we'll start with the simplest one, and that is the solid purple one that I wear, and that is for autism awareness and Autism Speaks. My stepdaughter is special needs, and she is severely autistic, so it's my way of bringing a little bit of notice to her. The 2 of the others are pretty self-explanatory when you see them. One says Trans Pride. It's the wristband version of the transgender flag. And then the other one is a rainbow wristband, and that's pretty self-explanatory to everybody that's listening. But the 4th one is one that is near and dear to my heart, and it's actually the name of a play that was put on in San Francisco, and the name of the play is called No More Fences. And it's a memorial, basically, for Matthew Shepard. And I don't have to go into it too much, but for those of your listeners that don't know Matt's story, he was a gay University of Wyoming student who was kidnapped, beaten, and tortured and left to die tied to a fence. And for 12 spectacular days, Matt hung on after he was found, and he eventually did pass away nearly 21 years ago. It'll be 21 years in October, and I don't have to go into it too much more because everybody that is familiar with Matt's story knows the tragedy that surrounded it. And even to this day, it still brings tears to my eyes.
And mine too. No More Fences, is that a play that's continuing, or was that...
No, it ran for about a year. The National Conservatory Theater Company of San Francisco put it on.
And one more thing on this list, because we are getting towards the end of episode 1, but you were the first Miss Trans Fresno pageant winner in 2013. Is that a current pageant? Yes,
it's put on by an organization in Fresno, and the organization is called the Imperial Dove Court of Fresno and Madera County. And this coming year, actually it's held every February, so next February will be the 8th annual event, and the nice thing about it is not open to drag kings and drag queens.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Imperial Dove Court is an organization of drag kings and drag queens. The Mr. and Miss Trans Fresno pageant are open only to individuals who are in active medical transition.
So if they've already transitioned, then they're not eligible, right?
Right. They have to be in active medical transition in order to compete in the Miss Trans Fresno pageant.
Well, I guess
I helped write all of the rules for it, and I wanted it a little more restrictive, only because I felt that it would cheapen the event in the long term if we didn't have that specific item in there right from the beginning.
That's very. That's a very good.
It was a source of controversy at the time, but everybody has learned to accept it because it has produced some absolutely fantastic advocates of the gender community up and down the Central Valley of California.
That's a very good way to explain the transitioning process if they're in the middle of it also, because you can relate to that when you're promoting that as far as it's in transition rather than down the road and older. We are about ready to have to wrap it up for episode 1. We will continue with episode 2 shortly, and I will give a recap to episode 1 if I may. So hang in there. Don't go anywhere. And
okay, I'm right here.
All righty. So again, thanks, Michelle, for joining us today on Rhonda's Rainbow Room. I'd like my listeners to email comments at kyeq.org or call 541-635-0034, and we will read your comments on the air during the next new show. We are at 12:30 p.m. Thursdays and Sundays on your radio dial, 91.7 FM, or streaming live at www.kyeq.org. We're Lincoln County's only public radio station. All of our shows are archived and may be accessed on any device. Remember, this show is your show. In addition, if you think you'd like to be a guest on Rhonda's Rainbow Room, let us know. Please visit the above website, www.kyeq.org, and donate, underwrite, or otherwise contribute to our cause, as we're solely dependent on your generosity. Also, you can volunteer your time and skills. This is Rhonda J., rounding third and heading for home. Bye-bye.